Phil Phails. Whoa, Phil Phails. Welcome to Phil Phails. My name is Philip, and today my guest is Jordan Myska Allen. I asked Jordan his label before we got started, and he said, whatever you want. And the first things that came to my mind were friend and climbing buddy. And when we dug down into the meat of it, he's the founder of Relateful. He's also an entrepreneur, a human, which you might not notice, definitely human features, and also a friend and a climbing buddy. And today, Phil will fail at relating. Jordan, you want to say hi to everybody? Wave at everybody?
Hey, everybody.
That's Jordan. I'm going to start off with Phil Phails' 5 questions.
Okay.
Well, before we start with that, I'm just going to let you know a little bit about alliteration. I also have another alliterative little thing that I do, and that could inform you about what we're going to explore here today together. It's Phil's 4 focus features. I came up with that yesterday.
It's convenient your name has the F sound.
Yeah.
Because if I had to do Jordan's juicy jiggles, like it just starts to get real weird.
You have the name change.
Yeah.
But this is my name, and so I'm going to roll with that. So those features, the things that I explore in folks, are neurodivergence. And within the lens of neurodivergence is kind of intergenerational, like maybe trauma, cycles of violence, like also how folks feel included or excluded, just how people feel in orientation to the whole throughout their life within the lens of neurodivergence. The second thing is family and parenting.
Awesome.
Also being a single dad, that's a big part of my life, and having been in a family growing up. The third thing is transformation and starting over. And the fourth thing is philosophy, spirituality, and mysticism. And as I begin talking to you and exploring these questions, I'm pretty sure you fit into all 4 of those categories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They're all 4 huge passions of mine. As you know, like I've got a 2 and almost 2.5-year-old at home and a 7-month-old. And so, this being a parent is apparently a huge part of my life now.
Yeah.
And even that first theme, one of the things that really struck me right away when I saw my son come out of my wife's,
you can say vagina. I think that's
what I was going to say. Can I say vagina?
I think it's a medical term.
Come out of my wife's vagina. It was like
A little provocative.
Yeah, like I'm watching evolution right here. Like there's a sea creature coming onto land.
Yeah.
This baby in the amniotic sac is kind of breathing air for the first time, and being my son especially, but my daughter as well. It kind of puts me in touch with the whole lineage of all the way back to our protozoic ancestors, and how we're just this kind of in some ways my life purpose is whatever the Jordan thing is, and in some ways I'm just one cell in the lineage of my ancestry, passing forward the stuff that we learned and moving forward and creating the new freshness that's coming thousands of years from.
That's the intergenerational part, the first part.
That's right.
And then with transformation, I think in your life you've experienced transformation, or you help folks through some of your efforts.
That's right.
Realize transformation.
That's right. Yeah. So, relatefulness is this, with our name for it, but it doesn't really matter what we call it. We're being present, honest, open, just in the moment, not even needing to get anywhere. And it ends up being wildly transformative.
Yeah.
And I think that ties into philosophy, where this kind of implies that the nature of being, if you let it be, is regenerative or transformative.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, I'll start with the questions. Phil Phails' 5 questions. And these are they revolve around what I'm going to fail at, which is relating. I'll preface this just so you know, part of Phil Phails is this idea of breaking down the binary or changing the binary between success over here and failure over here, which I think is the common idea of it, and changing it from success over here to not starting, and everything in between not starting and success is failure. So it's synonymous with learning.
Right.
As long as we continue the journey, we can interpret our experience as successful or moving towards success, but also we can interpret it as failure and learning. And I frame it that way because I've always been scared of starting things because I wanted to be perfect. I didn't want people to see my imperfections or failures. So in this way, I'm inviting everybody to venture forward and to fail, to showcase warts and all on their journey towards whatever their, you'll never find the end point, right? We're just always going to continue evolving and iterating towards something and just accepting that journey. Yeah.
I really love that frame shift that you're inviting all of us into, all of us watching this, being a part of this. I think it's so important. And we were briefly talking about it. And I think also you can say failure is learning is play.
Yeah.
And so and this again goes to this parenting where you can see like a child playing, like, my daughter is like reaching for an object and that's what she wants to do because she's interested and it's fun and she's failing over and over to grab the object.
Yeah.
But that's her learning motor control and, distance and physics. And like, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, our culture, I mean, I'm the same as you. I kind of joke about being a human because I'm like, yeah, I'm a human. We're all human. We're all together. There's nothing, as my friend Val likes to say, there's nothing common to man that's foreign to me.
Yeah, that was the motto of, I was at Wolfson College in Oxford, and their motto was, if it's human, it's not alien to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, there's something there where I think instead of going and not starting because of this like need to be perfect or awesome or good at things that, I don't know if it's cultural or maybe we're both white and that's the deal, or I don't know, I think it's actually just human or Western. But I have always felt this immense pressure to just be really, really good at whatever I do. Yeah. And so I'm like, I'll start things, but I've got to like finish them amazingly. Yeah. And it's an immense amount of pressure and it takes away the play.
Yeah. So the first question that leads us here is, how would I fail at relating? Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're like just starting is a really, really good first step. And, so in my practice, a lot of what we do is start to open the kind of, there's all these things that are like behind I don't know what to say, behind the acceptable wall. Like if one of my favorite examples is one time my friend was telling me about a mentor of hers that died. And I just started to feel really sad. I felt kind of grief and sympathetic sadness with her. And normally people will keep that to themselves, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm just so sad hearing this. So this is like that first step in failing in relating is just sharing what's real. So yeah, that's the simple first step, share what's real. But what I often try to encourage people to do is the hard part is not that first step. It does take a lot of courage to really start to share what's a little bit more real. But the hard part is what happens when they respond, because almost always it puts somebody a little off kilter. Like, oh, now you've taken them out of a script that they know how to relate with. Yeah. And so, in this case, my friend was like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you sad. Yeah. And so at that moment, if I back away, then then I haven't learned. I haven't continued to play. Yeah. But if I push too hard and I'm like, go deeper and don't listen to like her what it's like partner dance, you're a dancer. Then I also will kind of lose the intimacy and I'll fail in the other direction. There's some sort of balance there. And so what I ended up saying was something like, well, I actually really love feeling this with you and I'd love to hear more about your mentor and what she meant to you. So yeah, it's like first you got to have the courage to try to like go a little bit deeper into relating.
And when you say deeper, it's almost like what emotional qualities present, or what is your deeper underlying experience?
That's the easiest way in. There's a bunch of ways, but essentially, like right now, we're mostly talking about stuff. We have ideas in the past and the future out here. And the relating bit is like, okay, what about right here between us? We're making eye contact. Mm-hmm. I feel love towards you. I just love you. Yeah. And so it's being able to speak to that. And the easiest place is, what am I noticing here and now in me, in this moment?
Yeah. I feel nervous.
Yeah.
There's like something in my chest up here. Imagine I want to do well. I want to, yeah. Yeah. It's almost, this is an invitation. Second question, how would one know if they were succeeding?
Ooh, I like that question. Part of it is context dependent. Like, what are you trying to get from it? If you're trying to get a raise at your job, then it might be a little different, whether you're succeeding or not. If you're relating in order to get somewhere, if you're relating in order to get more intimacy, then that's kind of your metric. Like, do I feel more intimate?
Yeah. So if it's a raise, it'd be like, did I get the raise?
Yeah.
And then if it's intimacy, it's like, do I feel closer and more connected with the folks in my life?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when I teach people, I'm really driving towards, we say truth and love, because truth often has this kind of harsh, penetrative, masculine association. And we're like, well, actually it's the same as love, which often has this kind of gentle, receptive, feminine, assumption about it. I think they're actually kind of one thing. They're two sides of the same coin, where if you're really honest, you realize you care about people and you want to be heard, and you're speaking to also hear them and be in a relationship. And if you're really loving, you realize if you withhold things that are true, you're usually not helping. You're usually not being loving, being intimate.
Yeah.
And so they kind of, a lot of the practices, how do they fit together? And so, people will try, okay, I've got to be really honest. And then like, okay, Jordan and Phil said, got to say what's really there. And what I'm really there is like, I'm freaking annoyed that you're doing this,
Mm-hmm.
And then they just say it. And it's like, well, you forgot the love. There's a true fact here that like you do care about this person and you care about how they feel and you want something different. And so the practice is like, okay, you failed, you said it, you get feedback. How do I bring more truth? Oh, like there's a bigger, wider perspective here. I'm annoyed and I don't really, I'm blaming you and I wish I weren't, because I know it's about me. Or I'm annoyed and I really care about you and I don't know how to deal with this. So you start to widen what's really going on and how you share.
Yeah. So you succeed by finding truth and love and sharing that with folks.
Yeah. And there is something really important. Like if like you said, if your relationships don't improve, then I'm kind of like, what good is it? A lot of people, I'm kind of end up in this personal growth realm. That's where a lot of the people that come to my workshops or to the studio, the Relateful studio, and work with our facilitators are in that journey.
Right.
And I think a lot of those things don't necessarily, like, it's great for someone's self-awareness, but then they can end up being more narcissistic, more self-oriented, more entitled, kind of getting into these weird drama, victim blame cycles, oppressor oppressed, and the relationships suffer. And it's confusing because it is true that usually when you lift up the rug, you realize it's a lot dirtier than you thought. So you start to lift up the kind of personality rug or the psycho, like you start to see a therapist for the first time and you're like, whoa, there's a lot going on here I wasn't looking at. And it does feel a little messier at first. And sometimes you're in relationships that are unhealthy and you do let them go, right?
Yeah.
So there's transformation there, but there's some relationships you won't ever let go, right? Like your family or longtime friends or even coworkers. And yeah, if you don't see an improvement on these everyday relationships, then I have to question the efficacy of the practice.
Yeah. Yeah. The third question is, I interviewed this philosopher, professor of philosophy, and the first chapter of this book we're reading, it's the philosophy's big questions. And the first one is like how to lead the human good life, like to live a life, like a moral life. Mm-hmm. And I start to think, what is the fruit of this type of practice? Like what are the reverberations both in one's life and in the lives of folks around them? What is the fruit of this tree?
peace, stillness, in compassion, empathy in the face of horrific and opposing circumstances, an ability to bridge worlds and help people see each other, a greater sense of control around what you can actually control, like your experience, and a greater surrender to the world out there, which basically we have no control over.
Yeah. For some reason, the Serenity prayer just came to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
What is it? Do you know what?
God, give me the strength to
accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can change, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So in a lot of ways, I think it's very the perennial philosophy, where all these different philosophies, they have really distinct and unique paths up a similar mountain. There's a peak at the top that's like the Serenity prayer, or there's a kind of like an embodied emptiness, right? Like if you listen to the Dalai Lama, like there's a lot of kind of Buddhist practitioners that get trapped in like, oh, nothing matters and it's all an illusion. Mm-hmm. But if you go hang out with the Dalai Lama, like he's laughing, he's smiling, he's telling jokes. Yeah. Like it sometimes gets him in trouble, in fact, when he's like being playful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fourth question is, why do you do this?
First of all, I love it.
Yeah.
It nourishes me and it grounds me. I've been doing this community practice every Monday night since 2012 now. Sometimes I'm out of town, but if I'm in town, I'm there.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's kind of like church or like a spiritual community for me, or some people do ecstatic dance every Sunday. It's that kind of thing where I'm there kind of seeing my blind spots and getting feedback and being in community and being supported and challenged like every single week.
Yeah.
So there's a personal aspect for me that's just like really nourishing. But then also there's an aspect where it's like, I think we want to look for like, I was talking with a friend about this last night, like what's our calling? Like some people think of it as like, God's unique calling for you or something, but you don't have to have any conception of God. I think most of us have been in these moments where there's some unique gift. Like you're on a team and it's like, all right, I'm the guy that can do this.
Yeah.
Whether it's a sports team, you're like, okay, I'm an epic goalie, or I'm the guy that can like score the goals. Like, or if it's like at work or something, you're like, oh yeah, I'm the DevOps guy, and everyone like relies on me to make sure there's like a good like foundation or something. There's a sense of like, yeah, like I have a unique role to play that I'm uniquely well suited for in this context. Maybe I'm not the best one at it. Maybe I'm not the best bassist, but I'm the best one for this band.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's something like that with humanity, where we're a team, and maybe I'm not the best, facilitator of relationships, or I'm talking so philosophically, and I wish I could ground it more and help people have like, okay, take this with you, and here's clarity, and but I'm the best you got right now. And so there's a sense of like, we should be, I think, always looking for, and it's constantly changing, like what is now in this moment or in this epoch of my life, like what am I called towards that is like my gift to the world here and now? Maybe it's being an amazing dad. And that's what for sure for me, it shifted. I've a lot more of my time is about being a dad.
Yeah.
And so I'm always listening, like what is my role to play in this team of humanity?
Yeah. I hear like self-organizing teams. I hear like, man, it leads me to like I think there's going to be 6 questions, and that's fine. The 5th question is, do you have a mission or a purpose? And if you do, could you articulate it?
I wish I was better at articulating it. I mean, it feels like, surrendering into this, constantly staying in touch with like, what is my calling right here, right now?
Yeah.
And kind of clearing away all the cruft, all the fat, and just being like perfectly on target.
Being here now?
Being here now in a way that is generative.
Generative. Could you say more about that?
Yeah, there's some sense like be here now can often be kind of navel-gazy or like end up being weirdly self-interested. And there's some sense for me that I'm called into like I've always created this practice in a way, it's mystical, but I always talk about it as mainstream mysticism. Like I want it to be having a foot in the mainstream. So we run it like a business. It is a business. I'm not building community. I'm really happy that community happens, but it's like I want it to work within today's economy, even if it helps evolve the economy into something that works better for everyone. There's some sense of like one foot in the mainstream, one foot in the woo.
Yeah.
That is
The
just
woo-woo.
the woo woo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the woo way woo. Way woo way.
Yeah. Sixth and final question is what question should I ask you that I haven't asked you already?
Well, let me briefly say a little bit more. Another way to simply say like what's my mission is to be love.
To be love.
To be love. To be an expression of love. Fully. And I know in some ways I'm always doing that and I can't not. And in some ways I'm always falling short of that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm constantly being that, and then I'm constantly leaning into more of it and more of it.
Yeah.
And this in some ways sounds like a paradox, but in other ways, like time is very much this way. Like we are 100% the wholeness of time that has happened up till now. And we're always stepping into a new moment, which includes more and creates more. The universe expands.
It's like transcend and include.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like we're kind of, what I think about as I talk to you is Ken Wilber, and I know you're a big fan of, or you used to be.
Huge fan. Yeah.
Of, what was this thing?
The whole integral theory.
Integral theory. Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. This transcend and include, it's like a pattern that we see in development, in psychology, and in healthy development, really, is what it is. And it's one way of explaining unhealthy development, or these pathologies, or even these generational kind of karmic things. It's like, well, somebody transcended and excluded.
Yeah.
And now there's something that we got to go back and re-include.
Yeah. So back to that sixth question, and I like that. I'm glad that you said more about your mission and purpose.
Thank you.
And I think it was really helpful. What would be a good question to ask if you were like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and you asked, you're more wise now, more experienced, you've evolved, or you've learned. What would you ask yourself? What would be a good question? What would you want to know from yourself from then to now?
What's coming to me is I would want to know, is it worth it? And the answer would be yes.
Yeah. What is it?
The suffering that people, me and others go through. It feels like there's a lot of suffering that people have to endure, and then transformation kind of entails suffering. There's often a sense of death or loss or getting kind of slapped. There's a cold water feeling of like, whoa, I did not realize I was doing this. I was hurting people and I thought I was helping them. Yeah. Or I thought I was trying to be nice and honest, but I was actually enabling, really bad behavior to keep playing out.
To like, in increasing one's awareness, they start to reflect on their self and their own behaviors and the impact of that on other people. Yeah. And that's the cold water that you're speaking.
Realizing like, holy crap, I
thought I was one way, but I'm
different.
I'm different.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's like, I've been mistaken. I've failed, my mission. I've been hurting people. I've been causing suffering. I've been experiencing undue suffering for myself. People have this, people get in those relational cycles. They kind of keep dating the same person. Sometimes it's literally the same person. Yeah. Sometimes it's like a different person, but the same energy. Yeah. And then they kind of wake up and realize like, wow, I was playing into that. Like I was perpetuating that system. And there's some sense of like, often I think people feel regret. And I call this time traveling, like going back and judging the less wise version of you with the lesson that you only knew through going through that pain. Yeah. Yeah.
Judging them harshly. Yeah. And you had to go through that in order to learn the lesson. I think of that like you're through some it's almost like you're in first grade until you learn everything you need to have to go to second grade. So your life or whatever we want to call this will provide you with the same test until you're ready for a harder test or another test. Yeah. Yeah. And man, sometimes for some reason, as we speak about this, I think about, part of what I explore is that cycle of violence. And I think about, my parents and like the way that they both played into a dance. Yeah. And, I guess we can dance in different ways. We could dance a de-escalation dance where we're going towards love and connection through conflict with a difficult discussion, or we can dance this dance of, conflict and aggression. And man, I wish I could see them as some sort of absolute value, but I don't. And I've spoken to folks that I've spoken with folks that had parents that were more reserved. They never argued in front of their kids. They never really expressed their emotions. And I've spoken with folks that had big outbursts and reactivity. And I don't know that those are the binaries. Just not sure.
Right. Yeah. It's so complex because there's versions of withholding that are repression and they come out sideways. There's versions of withholding that are more mindful. Yeah. What do you do when you withhold? Do you inquire more deeply? Do you process it? Do you go talk to your friends? Do you have a therapist? Do you go bitch to your friends? That's different. Yeah. Do you take it out on the cat or the kid or, there's versions of expression that are really, really toxic and destructive. And, that are just kind of like, that just dealing with symptoms, not dealing with causes. And there's versions of expression that are a real invitation into intimacy and into change. And there's a sense of now that this is out, we can actually look at it. We can talk about it. Yeah. We can evolve it. And so, it feels like there's at least a 2x2, healthy and unhealthy expression or reserved. And it's probably more.
And it's on both sides.
On both sides. Yeah. Yeah. And then I'm imagining it's more like a 9x9 or
it gets
9.
big. Yeah. Yeah. It's infinite. Yeah. So those are the Phil Phails 5/6 questions.